Hello everyone. First thing first, thank you for listening and watching our podcast. Let's chat with Srdan KO. As I explained, the podcast will be about everyday life, business, entrepreneurship, everything that is there for good people. Today, I have a pleasure to talk about mediation and entrepreneurship with Sharon Morrissey. Sharon Morrissey has been a friend of mine for a long time, and we work together and on many different projects. So, welcome, Sharon.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
First thing first, as I said, I would like our podcast and video to be very relaxed and enjoyable. That's the most important part of it. Okay.
Work fine with us. Then.
That's very good. So I hope you're going to enjoy it. I hope you're going to have a good time with it. And all the questions I'm going to ask you are straightforward. And I want to hear your opinion as an entrepreneur and as a person who works for themselves and who are helping other people. What is all about? Okay. So what we're going to cover today is mediation. That's what Sharon does. What mediation means and what it is for people out there. How and what brought her to become an entrepreneur, and also how does she find an idea of running her own business. So let's start first thing first. What is mediation? Because a lot of people see mediation as something very puffy and they're unsure about it. So can you tell me as an expert in that field what mediation means?
Okay, it's very simple. Basically, mediation is when people are in a disagreement, and a disagreement is defined as something that is a long-term argument. Okay, it's not just a fight or an argument that's happened once. It's a long-term argument, and they cannot come up with solutions themselves.
So is that between family or?
It can be anywhere. It can be workplace, it can be commercial, it can be community mediation. I specialise in family mediation. So it's where the parties employ an independent, neutral third party, so me,
yourself,
to help them come up with solutions to their own problems. Okay. So my role really is to hear what they have to say and to ask questions where they are telling each other about the issues that are coming up for them and trying to get them to a space where they're understanding each other a little bit better and can from that maybe see an outcome to the issue.
Okay, so mediating something means basically being as a supportive force between the two sides that have an issue.
Yeah. So I suppose it's really important to understand that I would be impartial and neutral. So I wouldn't be giving suggestions as to how the disagreement might be solved unless both parties ask me to put a suggestion forward. It is about facilitating the parties, so facilitating the people that are sitting in front of you to come up with their own solutions to the issues. So looking at the problem maybe in a different way. So asking kind of how, why, what type of questions, so that each party is telling the other one how they felt, how it impacted them, what it was like for them, so that the other person can hear the impact that this disagreement has had.
Okay.
So when you have two people hearing the story from each other's perspective, sometimes it changes in their mind.
Yes, it can be like talking to the wall, I'm going to put it like that, because sometimes you're trying to pass your message to another person that you have an issue with, but they don't want to hear it because
they can't, because they're angry.
Okay.
Or they're, and we now know, because there's research behind it, that when we're angry, our brain isn't taking in that information. Yeah. So when you have a third person there, it gives that sense of safety, number one. Okay. And I mean emotional safety now more than physical safety. But it gives that sense of safety, and it also gives the person that you're talking. So I, as a mediator, would reframe back what each party has said, and it's easier for that person to hear it from that independent third party.
Yeah, because it's a normal thing that when we're angry with somebody, doesn't matter what they say, you don't want to hear it.
And they may be right, and you still don't want to hear it.
But you see, that's the thing, like, because yourself, it's a natural thing that if you're in disagreement with somebody, that you don't want to hear what they say, but even though they might be saying the truth or they might be saying something good, you want to hear that from somebody else.
it's softer coming from somebody else, isn't it? It's more kind of palatable.
But look,
even
when you have a conversation or an argument with your spouse or with your child or with somebody, and they might be right, you don't want to accept
Give
it.
into that. No,
exactly.
you don't. No,
because you think you are right. You have to be right.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. And there is nobody on this earth right all of the time.
Okay, that's very good. But one of the things that I would like to know is when it comes to mediation. I know you were saying before to me that also means it's a conflict resolution behind it. So what that means?
So it is kind of what it says. So people come to me because they're in conflict over something. So they're having a disagreement over something. And my role as the mediator is to support them to find a resolution to that conflict.
Okay.
So specifically I work with families. So I work with families who are breaking up. The relationship may have broken down. Now, that looks differently for a whole lot of different families. You can have sibling relationships that have broken down. You can have parent and child relationships that have broken down. You can have mom and dad relationships that have broken down. So it's different, for every family. But I suppose it's a communication piece for me, really, because if you didn't care about somebody or if there wasn't a relationship there in the first place, the fact that it has broken down wouldn't really matter a whole lot, So people come to mediation so that they can have their voice heard, so they can speak what they need to say to the independent third party, who can reframe it back to the other person, and maybe through that there is a communication or a dialogue that opens between the parties that are there in front of you. Specifically for family mediations, and by that I mean in this context when mums and dads are breaking up and there's children involved, because of my background, I would have worked with children for years and years. It is very important that the children's needs are in the room as well, because as parents, when your relationship is breaking down, you're so caught in the space of being angry at one another because it has to be somebody's fault, that sometimes you forget that these little people in the middle are still there. Yeah. They're experiencing what you're experiencing, but they don't have the words to put on the feelings that they're experiencing. And you as mum and dad are too caught up in your own stuff to see that. And that's through no fault of anybody. It just is.
It's a natural thing. One of the things that, look, I went through the mediation, I tried it. I would never do it probably if I didn't met you beforehand, that you were able to explain me.
And just to say that we didn't mediate together.
No, I mediated with another person. So for me, that's when I'm trying to find out that you can express and explain to people that what actually mediation is, because as I said when we started, it seemed very kind of American thing. It's like a psychological and a psychiatrist kind of oriented thing, and at least it's portrayed that way. So this is where when I heard it first time when we met and we spoke about it, I was like, I don't know exactly what is this. But again, at the end of the day, it's been there, as we said early on. We had a quick chat early on that it's been there for thousands of years.
Yes, since time began, and as we spoke about earlier, it's kind of the elders in the village. If two people had a disagreement, they went to the leader of the tribe or the elder in the village, and that person helped them come to an agreement about what the issue was. That's mediation.
Okay. So basically being a bridge between two people.
Or groups, or so like it goes from peacekeeping efforts in the United Nations and around the world, in all the conflicts around the world. There's peacekeepers, there's mediators there, to the work that I do, which is working with families and children who are in conflict. Yeah.
And tell me, what person can gain from it? What is the positive side of going for something like that, sitting down for it, and the not just one person, probably the sides, and when I say person, I mean the side of it. What they can gain from doing that?
I suppose, look, if a relationship is broken down, again, because I'm a family mediator, I'm talking about parents, their relationship is broken down, they can of course go to their solicitor and go to court and have a judge tell you what has to happen, right? And that works really, really well for some people. But you don't get a say in that. So the judge is making the decision for you on the outcome of your life. Mediation you have full control on what happens next in this next phase of your life.
Okay.
So once that's agreed between the two parties, you have ownership over the outcome.
Okay.
That for me is what people get from it. It is not an easy process, for sure.
Yeah, it can be
right?
tough.
Courts in some ways can be easier because you're told what to do, you know. So the mediation piece is you really have to sit, you really have to think about what's best for you and your family, and you're moving your family forward together separately, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Because if you're parents, you're always going to be parents.
Yeah, you can't run away from it.
No. If you have no children and you never again want to talk to your ex-partner, that's absolutely fine. But if you have children, you're going to have communions, confirmations,
birthday
21st,
parties,
weddings, graduations, grandchildren. You are always going to be parents, and there has to be some level of communication that goes with that.
Respecting everything as well.
Yeah.
And what do you think, from your personal point of view, as a mediator, which is the harder, the family mediation, the business mediation, or?
I have always I have worked in community mediations, and I have seen some business mediations. I haven't worked as such in a business mediation. I have seen people do it, and it looks exceptionally difficult, but then they would also say, I couldn't do what you do either.
Yeah,
so I think so I think
each one has their own
their own kind of skill
and,
sets and that, you know. There appears to be far more money in business mediation than family mediation.
That's another thing, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, when it's a business, there has to be something behind it. But
I also think kind of employment mediation, so you know, HR mediation disputes. I think that must be. I've done maybe one or two of those. They're quite difficult.
But would we say SIP2 and these kind of organizations were representing the workers? Would they have the mediators there too? Would they have the
at certain points and certain levels? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
so basically, just kind of summarize it, mediation can be on every single level of life.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
As I say, I work primarily with children and families, and then you have your HR mediation, business mediation, community mediation, end of life mediation, elder mediation. So you know, which is wonderful actually, because when you think about it, you know, we plan for every event in our lives. We plan for birthdays, we plan for weddings, we plan for christenings,
for all the good stuff.
But we don't plan
for bad stuff.
The stuff, you know, if we're poor, or to do it before we're poorly is the big thing. To know, so our families, our children know what it is we want when we're not here anymore.
I agree.
And then of course there's a succession mediation, whereas if people have land or farms or things like that, that mediation process is put in before the person passes on, so that everybody is fully aware of who gets what's going where, and you know.
And tell me, do you work closely with, we say, like solicitors, lawyers, and etc.? Would you be working with the solicitor firms? Would you be working closely with them? Would you have certain dealings with them, or how does that work?
Some of the referrals will come through solicitors. Since the 2017 Mediation Act was enacted, a solicitor now has to tell their clients about mediation and has to encourage them to attend mediation. Okay. So that's a couple of years old now at this stage, mentioned. So we'd work with solicitors. I get self-referrals. So people go to the website and see it, and just make a phone call. And then you have, I don't know why this happens, but you know, it seems to that sometimes you have kind of cohorts of friends whose relationships kind of break down in and around, you know, a space of time. Kind of the most difficult times are when babies are just born, because there's huge stresses on relationships, and then at the other end of the spectrum when the children are going to college and you have mum and dad sitting at home going, my God, we haven't actually spoken to each other for 25 years.
And it's a huge burden on the actual relationship between two people.
And in that, then you have word of mouth. So people say, I went to this girl down in Cork, or I went to this girl in such and such place. And the majority of the words would be solicitor based, really. Okay,
that's very good. And tell me, from your point of view, you're working basically mainly in Limerick and Cork area, or?
I'm nationwide. So I work everywhere. I'm in Dublin on a Friday because I teach there on a Friday in independent colleges, so that's fabulous. And then within reason, I suppose basically Munster.
Yeah.
So like Cork, Kerry, because where we are, it's kind of handy. So Cork, Kerry, Limerick, Tipperary, little bit starting in Waterford now, strangely enough.
That's good.
So that side, I have done mediations in County Roscommon, I've done mediations in Sligo, I've done one in Dublin, or a couple in Dublin actually. So
all over
anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I hope people now, people who are listening and watching, they can understand what mediation is. That was one of the points that we wanted to discuss today. Also, I want to find out from your point of view when it comes to the entrepreneurship. Basically, what that does mean to you, being an entrepreneur, which means working for yourself.
You asked me this earlier when we were talking earlier, and I would never have seen myself as that.
As an entrepreneur, yeah.
Do you know? And then when you said, working for yourself, I suppose my background, my dad had more often than not worked for himself, so I'd always seen that at home. My mom worked for herself for a lot of time, and one of Dad's sayings was always like, why be an employee when you could be an employer, you know. Now that didn't massively influence the whole thing, because I was just need to get the bills paid, have these qualifications, can get a job and do that, but then it came to a point where I thought, I can do this on my own. It means a lot of hard work.
Yes, we all, anyone who works for themselves or anyone who works for themselves, they know what we're talking about. This is also that for people who are listening or watching and they want to probably try it. My idea as a host is to talk to people and understand why they do it. Some people do it for full time in their life, some do it for certain parts of their life. So I just want to, each person that I'll be talking to is trying to find out why that push or why that goal of trying to work for yourself. So that's why I said, I wanted to find out what that's being self-employed or working for yourself means to you, but also why did you do it?
Okay, so I did it because after I retrained in mediation, and I had been working with, as I say, children and families for a long time, and saw that there was like a gap in the market for this type of work. And it was around the time of the recession where people were struggling to afford private kind of psychology and things like that, when there were issues with families. That I just felt there had to be a different way of kind of trying to support families, when they were in the middle of relationship breakdown because of the economic crisis. So went back and retrained, and then it's a bit weird, I suppose. It's a bit of a mindset change when you see a gap in the market, and when you see where you're working is not providing for that gap or not doing it adequately. You kind of think, okay, I can do this piece, right? So I think it was probably back there then that we met, about 5 years ago now, and us meeting helped a lot in that I was able to kind of push it forward, through social media and all that kind of thing. But I wanted to do it because I knew there was this gap in the market. I knew I had the skill set to do it. And my underlying passion was I wanted to support families that were in breakdown. Or families that were in conflict. But it's proven a lot harder than I thought it would be.
And is that because people don't understand?
Yes, I think you touched on it there, to be honest.
Or is it that people are not so accustomed to mediation in such a way as it's presented now, being so professional? Because I would say a lot of people they found peace talking to their relatives or friends and this and that. but now you having this service of where you can actually go to. It's not being talking to the psychiatrist or whatever, because it's not that kind of help. It's more help of, I have an issue and I want to resolve it.
Yes.
So.
And I think a big piece in that as well is because there's been a whole kind of generation of people that have moved away, again because of the employment crisis. So families are living in different places that you don't have that parent, or you don't have that elder kind of backup that we would have had years before. So there was that. So that has caused problems for people. But also you have to remember, divorce is only 22-ish years old in Ireland.
Yeah, that's sometimes I forget. Look, I've been married for a long time, but sometimes, certain things, when I hear, it's like, in my head would be like, but that should be common thing, or
no, it's not.
Like back home or everywhere else where I've been, it's a very common thing. Divorce.
And like that's true. I mean, they're miles ahead of us in America and Canada and Australia, obviously, because divorce has always been there. Yeah. So, but we're very new. This whole kind of sector is very, very, very new now. The Mediation Institute here in Ireland is 28 or 30 years old. So, but that was, basically commercial mediation, things like that, business mediation, whereas like divorces, I think it's between 22 and 25 years, and that's very small piece of time, in the scheme of things. So to have gone from a place where divorce didn't exist to now there's divorce, to now there's something called mediation to support you in that process.
It's a shock.
It's a big
leap.
It is
for a lot of people, which is understandable. Being looking from that point of view, that is understandable, because it's not easy to accept certain things, because only, as you said, 20 plus years ago you weren't even allowed to divorce, and now you have so much freedom and options that you can utilize or have on your disposal.
It's an education piece, I think, as well, and I think that things like this are certainly going to help all of that, like the Mediation Institute to family mediation weeks and mediation weeks during the year, and all of that will help, but it needs a lot more,
push,
it needs to become the norm.
Yeah, but you see, to become a norm, people have to be educated about it. They have to understand, and like everything else, because it's not easy just to go and sit down in front of somebody and hoping that they can help you resolve your issues that you might have with somebody that you live with, or somebody that you work with, or somebody that is your relative. It's not easy to put your dirty laundry in front of somebody.
It's not, and we Irish, we're really not good at that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you have to have a huge capacity to be able to do that.
Yes, of course.
So you have to be able to reflect and own your own behaviour.
Which can be hard, of course.
Very hard.
That's
very hard for people. So again, I go back to the point of, it's a whole lot easier for a judge to tell you what to do, and then you can go off and you've gotten that fella said to do this or that one said to do this, instead of saying, no, I took responsibility for that action, that was actually my fault, and I said sorry for it, or I made amends for it. It's a huge piece.
And tell me like this now, if you would ever have to do it again, okay, even though you're working out for yourself and everything else, would you do it again? Would you be an entrepreneur, somebody who works for himself? Is it hard? But would you as a person, or personally, do it again?
Yeah, I think I probably would, yeah. I like the buzz of it, to be honest. It is very hard. It's very hard, and some days I go, I just have to get a job. There is a safety, of course, about getting your wage packet at the end of the month and, knowing that that's there. But there's also a real feeling of gratitude and worth and making a difference in somebody's life when you do the work that I do. And for me, a successful outcome to a mediation is where two parties are leaving knowing that their communication has improved
and you were able to help them.
Yeah, and for me and for mediation, I think it's a snapshot in time, because to be fair, you can't do a parenting agreement for a 6-month-old baby and expect a 15-year-old to have the same parenting agreement. So it's about, the parties that are there at some point saying, right, we have a communion coming up, we have a confirmation coming up, we can't sort this out between ourselves, so will we go back to your one that we went to before? and she can help us do
So
that.
basically,
you know.
you're happy with that satisfaction of
yes,
helping people and being an entrepreneur working for yourself. You're able to do that in your own terms, in your own conditions, not specifically being, because the difference between working for yourself and working for somebody is most of the time you're working 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever the set week and a month is, and that's all what you do, and you don't think of outside that box. But this is why I started the chat and the show, is to showcase people why others are prepared to jump off that cliff and try it. You know, and working in an industry, different industries, and working in different backgrounds, but you know, to try to be somebody who can work for themselves.
And on top of that, just as you said, like, people are working 9 to 5, 8 to 4, shift work, whatever they are. Where are they going to fit in mediation? So are they just expected to go home then and live in, you know, a really unhappy kind of environment because they haven't got a space to go to work that through? Whereas like most of my work happens either in the evening or Saturday and Sunday, because I can do that, because I can take 2 days after in the week or you know, whatever days after in the week. So I can work around people too, and there's a lovely freedom in that as well, you know, for them.
So tell me, we say running your own business, like everything else in life, we have a negative side, we have a positive side. Let's start with the negative side first. What is or was the negativity of running your own business for you? How do you find it, and how do you deal with that?
Okay, so I suppose I know what my skill set are. Okay, so I know what I'm good at. I know I'm not good at accounting, for example. So I have found a really good accountant. But when I started off, I was kind of thinking, do I need one? Do I, you know, how does this work? Do you know, and like real practical stuff like that. So I know I'm not any good at website design or building, so it's a case of who do I find to do that, and you know, just all of those questions, and having, I suppose I'm a bit stubborn, so I kind of tend to try and figure things out myself. No, not building websites and doing accountancy, for example, but finding the people that to do that for me, do you know. I also am the type of person that if I don't have a connection with somebody, I know that that's not going to work. So I work quite intuitively, and you know, if I'm given a list of people to check out and none of them on the list, I trust with my business, or I trust, you know, they don't get it, well then that's not going to work for me either.
Of course,
So all of those things, they're not negatives, but I suppose it was more than I had kind of anticipated, really.
That'll be the harsh reality of it. Being working for yourself.
But to be fair, if somebody had written a book and put all of that in it, I probably would have said, oh no, I don't want to do this at all. So there's part of it as well that is kind of, you know, you work through it and you get through it. And
this is, but I would say most entrepreneurs will be the same. When I say entrepreneurs, I just classify it like that because that's people who want to gain that independency of working for themselves. And same was for me, trying to find the right people for the right side of it, or angles, or whatever, anything like that was hard. You know, starting your own thing for the first time is scary.
Very, because you're giving a part of yourself
to it. Yes.
Yeah, and so if you get knocked back, it's almost like a personal criticism.
It's not almost. I think it is, and every single person takes it that way, even though they shouldn't. But you do take it personally. You're like, why me?
And what have I done wrong?
What have I done wrong?
What can I change to make this work? When really it might not be about you or your service at all.
Yeah, of course. It could be just something small, completely independent.
Or about the person you were talking to.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I mean, I have had solicitors kind of tell me, no, there's no role for, there will never be a role for mediation. And I know that that's not true.
Oh, that's a bad one.
But I could have taken that and went,
okay, thanks a lot.
You know?
Yeah. And even though we say having those negative points behind it, you're still pushing forward. You're still trying to make it happen. So what will be the positive things in working for yourself I know that some of them you mentioned with time and flexibility, but is there anything else that is and stays positive for you being an entrepreneur, working for yourself and being independent?
For me, the most important part of it is knowing that I have supported somebody to make a difference in their own lives.
Okay.
Now, making a wage from that is fabulous, of course. Like, you know, I don't do it for nothing. But I also can stand over the service I offer because I know it's a really good service. Having my own kind of terms and conditions of employment, knowing that I can take on this couple, or knowing that no, I'm not feeling it with this couple, I know I'm not going to be of benefit to this couple. There's a fabulous freedom in
So
that.
that flexibility of that you can walk in or walk out if it's necessary from specific projects you put on.
And it's not a case of, well, you have to work with them because I'm telling you, you have to work with them. And I think if we're all really true to ourselves and, you know, have that self-awareness, we do know that if we're working with somebody that we don't like for whatever reason, the outcome is not going to be as positive or positive at all as working with somebody that you really want the best for.
Yeah.
Do you know? So that's a huge piece for me. And I would be very people-centered. So again, that was a really huge piece for me, that I was able to give that support to people. What that looked like without kind of being confined by different rules and regulations and terms, and of course, like, I'm not working with children as much now, and at this point in my life, for various reasons, that's okay.
Yeah.
But you know I can go back to that at another stage. It's just I needed this space to be free to work with adults more than children at this point, as I say. So it's been really beneficial for that way too, to have that choice.
And tell me, from your own point of view, saying to people who are watching and listening, would you recommend that if somebody has a drive and they have a push and they are, we say, standing on that edge and they want to do that leap of faith and they want to try it, would you recommend it? Would you tell them, look, just go and try it? And especially if they're a younger person who has time, because a lot of people who trying to become self-employed or working for themselves, it usually happens before. It was happening later in life. Now it's happening more earlier. Would you recommend it? Would you say, if somebody approaches you and say, look, Sharon, you're working for yourself, look, can you tell me certain points, and would you say, should I try it? Could I try it?
I suppose I would.
We say advice.
Yeah, I get some information as to what the idea was and kind of what research they had put into it, and if there was like that a gap in the market and what that looked like. And you know, I suppose I'd be cautious in saying go for it. You know, I'd have to feel that they had done their work behind it. If there was a possibility of kind of doing maybe 2 days a week paid work for a little bit of time, to do that, absolutely,
so
kind of dip the toe in the water just for a little bit of time, and then when they're sure, take a jump out. Absolutely, yeah.
So have that security if you can, and then try.
And just not everybody can have that, you know, that security, as you say. And some people are just, especially the younger crowd, I think they're a bit more fearless when you get to kind of my age. There's, you know, mortgages and children and college funds and all that sort of stuff that have to be sorted out. Whereas when they're younger, there's probably less of that. And, you know, God, give it a go, absolutely. But make sure that you have your research behind you.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because from my point of view, when I was starting, I could see myself young enough in that age, but still old enough. But I would, same as yourself, I would say probably, if anyone asked me, you know, would you recommend it? I would say 100% yeah, go for it. But as you say, have the research, have certain points behind it, understand your clients or
target
market, know your product or a service that you want to offer, and understand to whom you're going to be offering it. Have that or those points drilled down, and haven't properly researched them, but everything else comes back to consistency, persistency.
Absolutely.
And basically just pushing because they're going to be so many step backs.
As well, isn't it? It's kind of like if something doesn't work, because
adapt it.
Yeah, because I know I've had to kind of rebrand a few times, and that's probably going to have to happen again a couple of more times, so that people absolutely understand the product. Because as you said, mediation, I've had calls for yoga, I've had calls for meditation classes. Do you know what I mean? So
no,
I have to change that word.
Mediation and meditation.
Yes, exactly.
It's just one letter that changes, and that's for me. As I said, when first time when you told me, "Oh, I'm a mediator," I'm like, okay, so when we sit down, we meditate. You're like, no,
that's not what we do.
But when you told me about conflict resolution, it was a lot easier for me to understand what you're all about. So, but again, on the end of the day, as I said, it's really good to see somebody doing it, and I'm always happy to work and deal with people who are doing that in their own time. As I said, being entrepreneurs, being people who wants to do certain things, certain changes. Maybe the system is not always there to support you and help you, but you are there. You're pushing it. You're making it happen.
I think you make your own system, though, don't you?
I agree. Yeah.
So, like, for example, we have known each other for nearly 5 years now at this stage, and there's a couple of other people that are in my system, and I know, like, my husband would always say to me, "You've got great people around you."
Yeah.
And those great people are the people that you can text and go, "I'm really fed up with this. This isn't working," and they're the people that will go, "Hold tough now a minute. You know your work is seasonal. You know this is a quiet month," and they'll just again help you hold steady the course.
Exactly. And I would say in Ireland specifically, there are a lot of places where people can get help and support as being self-employed, entrepreneur, whatever you're going to put it. But I think that still there is a gap there that could be presented to the same people, that they can get even more help if they need it. Because I know myself, as you say, if you don't surround yourself with a very good and positive people that are helping you in those moments, you would quit, that's for sure. But I think that there is opportunity still there, that the island is still new in many ways.
Yes.
And I think that there should be opportunity there for a lot more other people that want to become entrepreneurs or self-employed, the people who want to work for themselves. That I think that there should be something else for them.
I know, we spoke about this briefly as well. It's easy when you've got a trade, like, I'm a carpenter or I'm an electrician or I'm, I have a product to sell, an actual tangible product to sell. It's harder when you're selling a service.
Yes, it is, I agree with that.
So it would be great if there was a little bit more support around that. I suppose I found that a little bit difficult.
So basically, for the businesses,
it's almost like I'm selling. I have a service.
You're selling yourself,
really
basically,
at what I do, but you can't touch it, or you can't see. You can only see it afterwards, and because it's mediation, nobody's going to go on camera and go, "This lady was fantastic."
Of course not.
They don't even want to write a kind of a recommendation. I totally get that. I don't think I would. So it's harder to sell that type of a product.
So we agree that there should be support for the service-based businesses.
It would be great.
Or people who are in that kind of industry, that it'd be better to have more support in that. Because I know you have a lot of local authorities who are trying their best, but you can't help everyone. That's a normal thing. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
You can only help so much, or point people to the right direction, and if they don't take those steps, or if they don't do themselves, that's on them. But I know, because I provide mainly the service, I understand you 100% how that feels, because you're basically selling yourself.
Yes.
You're the product.
Yes. And you're the face of the product.
Exactly.
And you are. So it's all fine me being passionate about mediation, but if I'm not translating that into the
right
person
way,
in front of me, that's really difficult. I know for sure I find kind of networking groups quite difficult.
Yeah.
Because I suppose even though I be quite introverted, and being in a room full of people trying to sell a mediation project for me is kind of nightmarish. and I would find that quite difficult.
And tell me, how would
Whereas on a one-to-one, it's fine.
Yeah, so basically standing in front of a group of people is not easy, but that's not easy for anyone.
Yeah. No, and I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I just wanted to say, so how would you work on that? It's basically just a repetition of presenting your product or service in front of others.
Yeah, for me what's really, really helped is that I got this teaching job so that I'm able now
to stand in front
of a group. And like the group is 20 odd people, that's fine. 20 people, or the other day it was 180 people. It kind of didn't matter.
No.
Yeah, you know, but it was
more than
fine.
More than one. Yeah.
And
but that is you see that. But most of the time people say that actually the hardest is to sell to one to one. It's easy to, I'm gonna say sell, but represent or say certain things to a group because you focus its quantity. But then when it's one to one, it has to be quality.
Yes, of course.
So, you know, for me, I enjoy both sides, but I think I agree with you. It's not easy to present your product or service in front of a group of people because you might have questions that you're not sure how to answer or what to say.
But you know, I think I'm okay with that. If somebody asks me a question, I can't answer that, or I will simply say I can't answer that, but I'll get the answer for you and I'll tell you when I get it. Do you know? I can't know everything, and nobody knows everything, and I'm not going to bluff my way out of that.
I think that a lot of people make mistakes because they try to bluff it out.
Yeah, no, I
because, you know, if you ask them a question and they have no, I'm not going to say dignity, but, you know, that self-respect of saying, look, I'm not sure, or I don't know, but if you leave me your phone number and your email,
I will get that.
I'll get back to you. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I prefer to give an honest, real answer than try and pull the wool over somebody else's. Especially not when people are in vulnerable situations like people I work with. That's not fair.
No, it's not. Yeah.
No,
but same for me. You know, if anyone says something, and if I'm not sure, I'll rather say to the person I work with, look, I'm not sure. Then try to say something just to look smart. And then they go away and they find out that it's actually a completely different thing, and they Google it and it's like,
what is he
talking about? So yeah, I do agree. I prefer when people are honest. Then, you know, say it. Look, I'm not sure. I don't know, but I can find out for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I prefer that too.
So look, let's basically just wrap it up. Being an entrepreneur, being a person that works for themselves, do you enjoy it?
Yes, absolutely. I enjoy it. I have moments of being wobbly, but overall, I do. I love my job. I do.
Will you continue doing?
I will. Absolutely, I will. Yeah.
And again, would you recommend it?
Yes.
I'm gonna delay. Ooh.
No, I would recommend it in terms of once you know your target market, I wouldn't recommend it in that, you know, if it's a silly idea and you're giving up a good job and
I agree with that.
You know, I would recommend if you believe in something passionately enough and you believe that you can provide the service, whatever that looks like, whatever it is, properly, honestly to people who are paying for a service, then absolutely I would go for it. Yeah. Other than that, you know, some people are better employed in their 9-to-5 jobs or their shift jobs or whatever, and that's absolutely totally fine too.
Yeah.
Totally
not everyone is up for it. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. You know.
I think you just have to know yourself. You have to know your abilities, your capabilities, and also I suppose you have to know when to stop. That if it gets too much, that you have to know when to stop. Yeah. But that is again about knowing yourself and being honest to yourself.
I agree.
So,
I agree. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed it. This was a couple of minutes of our talk. And I hope you learned something. And again, we're going to be talking about different topics. Sharon and myself, I'll be sharing different videos about it. And again, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day.